Welcome to the Clinical Cookout. Hey now, it's your Auntie Ashley.
What's up? It's your girl, Auntie Shug.
Hey, it's your girl, Auntie Quiche.
Hey y'all, it's Auntie Amber.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. We are qualified clinicians who will cover various topics on mental health and will sometimes provide community resources. We are not being paid by any organization for our content, and any information we provide is general and pertains to our own personal experiences. We do not provide psychotherapy, diagnoses, or treatment recommendations on air. Any concerns related to your individual mental health should be directed to your medical and mental health professionals. We are not responsible for others' decisions or the subsequent consequences.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Clinical Cookout. And today we got a very fitting hot sauce. So we've been bringing y'all Clinical Cookout stuff now for almost a year, but we've never really talked about the actual cookout and who's invited to a cookout. We see it online all the time. People inviting people to the cookout, and it's like, stop inviting people to the cookout. Everybody ain't invited to the cookout. So who do y'all think should be invited to the cookout?
Wait, before we answer, for the people out there that don't know, what does that actually mean to be invited to the cookout?
So being invited to the cookout, so in the Black community, we have cookouts during the summer where we grill outside, family, friends, spades, tournaments, dominoes, all kind of stuff go on at the cookout. It's just a nice gathering of Black folks. But metaphorically, when we say it, it means that you are invited into that Black space. So when you see somebody online saying, oh, that person cool enough to be invited to the cookout, like they are basically saying Black people need to embrace that person into our culture.
Okay.
So who we embracing and who we not embracing? Or should we be inviting anybody outside of Black folks to our cookouts?
Hell, half of them Black folks ain't even gonna be invited.
And you're right.
What?
Not wrong. She's not wrong.
Half y'all are not coming.
Nope.
Why?
She's right.
I mean, this is just some stuff that our community need to address and fix, and half of them ain't coming. If Harriet Tubman had to take us out, half of us would be left behind.
I swear Suge and Amber be on the same wavelength, and me and you be on the same wavelength. Because I literally was about to say, if Harriet would have shot him, they ain't coming to the cookout.
Yo, like, I see why she had to leave a few behind, but half of the Black people that we talking about ain't even coming.
I want you to unpack.
What'd you say, Suge?
I want y'all to unpack that.
What I mean by that is sometimes we got some of our people doing things that would throw our community under the bus and really aren't about our community. And that is what I mean by that. And I don't mean that in a way like, hating, or anything like that. It's just that some people just aren't for us. That's even our people. And it's sad to say, I want them to come to the cookout, but some of their behaviors are questionable. Just questionable. So I don't think I don't feel like everybody should be invited to the cookout, but I think there needs to be, I think the discourse that's happening where people are now questioning it. Like, just because, let's just say, a white person can dance or rap Black music, they're automatically invited to the cookout. And I need more from that. I need a little bit more. I need the people who standing up for us like they should, changing policies and helping the Black community like they should be invited. And even then, don't bring nothing. Just come and you can sit down. But
we don't learn our lesson, Auntie Keisha. I'm glad you brought that up. Like, it's the simplest things that a white person could do to be invited to the cookout. Like, just because you got some rhythm, just because you got a little bit of soul, like, that's not enough. And have we not learned our lesson from doing that to white celebrities in the past? We invite them to the cookout, and then they go and do something stupid to show why they never should have got the invite. So we got to be selective and discerning with who we inviting to the cookout, because everybody ain't true to this. They just want to put it on because it's cool.
Yeah.
My biggest issue is that anybody just gets invited, and that's just by some like you say, that's by some of the Black people that ain't invited. Because like one thing I actually say, just because people are cool or got soul. One thing that we found out, I think, during the pandemic is that some people seem cool on the outside. I always knew it anyway. But some people seem cool on the outside, but when it's time to stomp that yard for you, are they going to do that? When it's time to be out there marching or talking about, no, they shouldn't have put their knee on George Floyd's neck, what are they going to be saying? I found a dear friend like that we have been friends with for a long time was like, well, you know what? If they listen when the cops say something, and he was Hispanic. I'm like, literally, we literally have paved the way for you. What's wrong with you? But like, he was like, if they would listen and stop being combative, then there wouldn't be so many deaths. Now, we done broke bread together. You've met my kids. I've met your kids. We were kind of close. But then that flies out of your mouth. You was invited to the cookout. So I thought. So I don't know. I think we need to probably do our due diligence a little bit more. And maybe don't invite nobody there. Maybe keep them at arm's length. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can come if it's in the backyard, or if it's at an alternate location.
If it's at a public park, we can't stop it.
If it's at a public park, you can come. If it's at the home with all the homies and in my personal space, maybe you shouldn't be there and until you're vetted, until I know that you're invested in me and everything that that's positive for me. Because I don't think that people realize when you're voting for, well, maybe y'all should be quiet when the police stop you or something like that. That could be my kid. And now this kid that you watch grow up, you're just saying, oh, well, that kid should have shut up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? I want to give people who I believe might be the best example of a white person in particular who would be deserving of an invite. She's literally the only person I could think of off the bat, and it'll give a gauge of what we're talking about here. Jane Elliott. If you don't know who Jane Elliott is, please look her up. Jane Elliott is one of the few white women who I have yet to find something problematic about, who stomps hard to get her people. She's not preaching to black people. She talking to her people to get them to understand anti-racism and how to be an ally. She's a good example of a white person deserving of a cookout invite.
But she's not regular people.
She ain't regular people. She ain't regular people.
She's a psychologist, I believe.
Yeah,
when you get somebody who is a woke psychologist, so they're already woke, they're already white, they already recognize their privilege, and then they're trying to get people like they advocate. She's different.
She's different. But if you can even be a smidgen like that, if you can be open to learning and understanding things about our culture, I can see it. But like we've been saying, we freely give out that invite for the most basic, mediocre of things.
And I would like to expand on my answer when it comes to our people, some people that look like us that's not invited. Mm-hmm. I think our community has a problem with still having, people who molest our children in our community, or like sexual abuse. I think that that's an issue that we keep sweeping under the rug, and we let the uncle, hell, even the aunt who's inappropriate, who continue to be around our children or continue to do things that shouldn't be happening. And, or, just somebody who just are just inappropriate. And I just think that sometimes they don't need to be at the invite. I ain't saying you got to disown them, but I feel like sometimes they don't need to be there.
What are you talking about? Black people don't do that. We don't invite the child molester to the cookout. We don't do that.
But they do. And that's why I'll be like, come on, dog, not everybody. Or domestic violence. You got Uncle Tammy and Willis over there knocking each other's heads off, and he done punched her and broke her nose, or she done stabbed him, and y'all not coming. Get yourselves together first. Get yourselves together. But we keep allowing that to come, and because they are people, but really they've been an issue for the family.
I feel that. And it's not even going that far. I was thinking about other types of black people that wouldn't be invited to even if we go. To me, if you disrespect black women, you shouldn't be invited to the cookout. Why are you here? Black women are the reason for the cookout. We the ones cooking, more than likely.
I don't agree with that. I do not.
That's not going to happen, actually.
I know it's not going to happen, but I'm just saying, because we constantly say, in a lot of, I see it a lot online where people like just say, like they'll say to a black man, just say you hate black women. Just say it. Just say, because everything you're exuding and saying points to you hating black women. So why would you even want to be in our presence in that case? Like you got some black men who genuinely, I feel like, don't like black women, just like you have black women who seemingly hate black men. If you are on that, or if you dealing with self-hatred, or if you any of that, you ain't got no business at the cookout either.
But I don't think that it pertains to, well, from what I see, it doesn't, those type of men, it doesn't pertain to their family members. Like it doesn't seem to like affect who they are a part of. Mm-hmm. It may be other people outside, but it doesn't seem, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that they may hate their mama and hate aunties and stuff, but it's never directed toward them. It's like directed toward the women that they're in a relationship with or want to be in a relationship with. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that doesn't make it any better, but I don't know if it's family directed.
No, we got to think about that too. So let's unpack that, right? When we start talking about people disrespecting black women or black men in the community, a lot of that is social conditioning. A lot of that is, did he like his black mama? Did his black mama beat him? Did her black daddy beat her? Did her black daddy abandon her? So maybe that's why she feels the way she feels, or why he feels the way he feels. So in essence, like, you can't exclude people who are actually a part of the community out of what they need to learn as a part of the community. So the disrespect of black women can be disrespectful too. So I've seen black women who think it's okay to beat on their black men, who think it's okay to emasculate black men. But the minute the black man says something back to the black women, then he disrespecting black women. What about people, black men not disrespecting black women and black women not disrespecting black men? Why is there this black woman thing? Yes, protect black women, but also protect black men, protect black culture. Why is nobody saying that?
Okay. When we talk about protecting black culture, agree, like that is what the cookout is for, protecting the culture. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. And that's what I mean when it comes to attending the cookout. How much are people who are non-black protecting black culture? How much are people in our culture protecting black culture? And that's my thing. Like, and that's why I said some of us can't go, because some of us are not in the business of protecting ourselves as our community. We're only trying to protect individually and what's going on with us. Like, oh, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Oh, that's not me. Like, you know what I mean? Or they bring people in that wants the glitz and glam of our culture, the food, the rhythm, the soul, the linguistics. Like, now I'm going to try to say this I'm trying to say this the right way. I have no problem with interracial dating at all, because clearly, the white men's be in my face. Okay, I ain't got no problem with that. My problem is, or where I get shaky at is, you're not going to get an automatic invite because you got biracial kids and that your partner is black. No, I don't want you to be trying to sound like me when you come to the cookout. Be yourself. Be yourself. You can be yourself and fight for our culture. You know what I mean? Like, the two can exist at one time. But I feel like that's always a struggle with people who are outside of black culture trying to come to the cookout. They now feel like they have to pretend to be us in order to be a part of us. And that's not what we need.
What's anxiety producing and is actually infuriating is, what does pretend to be us look like? Because when you pretend to be us and you act ignorant and all you want to do is twerk, talk about chicken, and walk around here and talk ignorant and, use racial slurs, that's not only us. And that grinds my gears every time, because we are not a monolith. We do not exist in a vacuum. We are very, very dynamic. And so it's like when you do that, or when you cater to that population, you're saying that this is where they are and this is what I want to be because it's cool. But some of it, you perpetuate ignorance and calling it cool, and then being like, so I'm ignorant too, and that's where I want to be. When sometimes, guess what you can model? All of us on this thing are educated, and we're all still black women. Why don't you model that? Why can't that be us too? Or why can't we do both things? Why can't we be educated and know how to have fun? Why can't you model that? Why do you have to try to be a stereotype? That's like me being like, I want to be Hispanic and walking around throwing chanclas at all the kids. That ain't all they do. They do more than that. So it's disrespectful to assume that this is the part of culture that I choose, but this might be the part of culture that people look down on every day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, everybody want to be black until it's time to be fucking black.
Yep. And that's how you know that people don't forget appreciating the culture and all that. People don't truly understand. People outside of us don't truly understand our culture. Like even what we're going to talk about today, Black people don't do that. Every Black person has heard that said somewhere along the line, something that happened in the media, and they look at it like, they was Black, but Black people don't do that. Everybody understand the culture. So let's talk to them about some stuff that Black people don't do, that they really do.
Be depressed.
Oh my God.
All right. So let's transition into our main dish. I know you guys earlier heard me say Black people don't do that. So that's a part of our main dish. We're actually going to talk about what Black people don't do that they actually really do. And that's going to be a very fun way of us educating you about mental health on the things that Black people actually do. So if y'all didn't notice, they said Black people don't do what? I said be depressed, because I don't know if y'all seen that meme, and I laughed so hard on Facebook where it says, "Mom depressed," and the dude was washing dishes, and she's like, "You better depress them dishes," because Black people ain't allowed to be depressed. The kids ain't allowed to be depressed. Depress them dishes. Depress that. That's kind of our mindset about things, and it's not always right. Now, some people can probably run depression into the ground and use it to get out of a lot of things instead of saying I'm lazy or I'm tired or I don't want to do it. I'm depressed, or, it can be a scapegoat thing, but Black people do in fact get depressed. Let's talk about that.
But if y'all happen to see our trivia episode earlier in the week, you will know that one of the things we talked about is that Black people are more likely than white people to have feelings of depression, which is sadness, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling unworthy, guilty about things that have happened in the past. So we do experience it. It's just, it looks differently for us than it does for other cultures. And it's because of that, because we tell our parents we're depressed and they tell you to depress them dishes. So instead of going and, doing something towards other people, you just kind of internalize it and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna just stay in my room and chill. And when that happens, I've even seen parents say like, oh, he's a good kid, he just stays in his room all day, he don't do nothing wrong. Well, your kid is depressed. Your kid is sitting in the room all day because they don't want to interact with you because you're not listening to their feelings. So yes, we do get depressed. We have a whole different way of dealing with it than what you would see in other cultures.
Mm-hmm. And the way our elders and community in general looks at it sometimes, just like that meme Auntie Shug was talking about. Yeah, it's funny to laugh at because we know we've heard that, but really, like, I've heard a lot of Black people, even within my own family, who are like, I ain't got time to be depressed. Or, okay, you depressed, but you still need to go to work. Like, I still got to take care of my family, so I don't have time for it. So you hear that. Or with parents and kids, I've heard parents say, well, what you got to be depressed for? It's a roof over your head, you got food, you got clothes, you get taken care of. What you got to be depressed about? You ain't got nothing to be depressed about. And it's like,
that's the one.
It's tough. It's tough, but we do. Our kids do. That's the thing. Our babies do go through it. They are dealing with a lot.
Yep.
Now, let me play parents advocate. Okay. Some parents are right when they say that. You have a roof over your head. You have food in your mouth. You are taken care of. I'm doing everything that I can for you. Some kids are not, in fact, depressed, maybe down or sad. Being down or sad doesn't always equal full-blown depression. It could just be they're down or they're sad. They're growing, teenage growing pains. Like kids start getting weird around like 11 and 10, especially when the period is about to come up. I would have thought my daughter was in full-blown depression around 11, but her menstrual was about to come. But it did look a lot like depression. It looked like she's sad for no reason. She's talking about running away. She's up and she's down. Everything you say to her, she's agitated. She's irritated. She's moving slowly. She's not, you know what I mean? She's not engaging. She's withdrawing. That looked like depression, but it wasn't. Once that thing dropped, I had a new kid on my hands. I was like, oh, you are likable. Oh, we are back there to the point of where you don't seem like you're depressed, but you had a surge of hormones.
But at least you took notice. See, that's what I'm saying. As a parent, you took notice. You didn't just say, what the hell is wrong with you? Or you didn't just say, you better lose your attitude. Like you said, this looks like this. And then once you found out it was something else, it was like, oh, that wasn't that. That was because she was about to get her period. Like you took notice. It didn't immediately go to, you ain't got nothing. What is your problem? You ain't got nothing to be sad about. And I don't think that's right for any parent to say that. Even if the child doesn't actually have depression, you still don't know what they're thinking about on a daily basis. You don't know that. So to say that is very minimizing.
Well, she also was diagnosed with ADHD, and we know Black people don't have that. Nope.
Absolutely not. Well, actually, according to almost a lot of teachers in the schools, Black people do. That's the first thing they want to send them to evaluation for is ADHD. But according to our families and our community, we don't get stuff like that, right? Also, some other things we don't do, right? I mean, we smoke weed, Black people smoke weed, know that, right? Like, yeah, that's something that we know. But we absolutely do not shoot up nothing.
No.
We don't do that.
No. We
right?
don't have any fentanyl use and any
No.
use in our community.
We do not do that.
No.
Never. That's a white people thing.
Smoke weed, and you got crackheads, nothing else.
Right. That's what I heard. That's a white people thing. Really?
We don't hear that from. Because in my experience, Black people do that.
Black people do all the drugs.
And they do. And they do. And statistics and the CDC now supports that with new information about African Americans now surpassing whites in overdoses. So there is a lot of us doing that because of a lot of misinformation, a lot of people using their grandparents' medication or believing it's just a white people thing. It is not. There is a lot of drug use in our community. I wish there was more talk about alcohol use in our community, but specifically with opiates and fentanyl, a lot of people believe that Black people do not do those drugs, and they do.
Which is very funny because the rap music now literally glorifies it. I just popped a perk 30. Pop the Molly, I'm sweating. Like they are literally
say that y'all get mad, but she can say
what? No, I'm just saying.
Did you ever said that, Suge?
I was about to ask.
I said it in our episode. I was like, rap lyrics glorified. We can't blame that all on rap.
I thought you meant like Papa Molly, you were sweating. I was like,
I was never Papa Molly nor sweat.
No, what? I'm not using it in that same sense, Auntie Suge. I still stand by that. Rap music is not at fault. Yes, it does help perpetuate it, but it's not at fault. I'm using that to say that proves Black people doing it. That's the Black people rapping about it. They literally telling you, I popped a perk 30. Like that's what they're telling you. So that shows us that at the very least, our young people definitely are. Our teenagers, early 20s, college age kids are definitely popping pills.
Yep. I was actually listening to Future the other day, and I did not know he said, I'm doing fentanyl and I ain't going back. And I was like, did he say fentanyl? Like, I said that openly.
Did
he say
that? I ain't up on Future because I can't stand his Meryl Streep looking ass. But he looks like the Black Meryl Streep. He does.
Listen, Future is the king of trap music. But I didn't until I started like listening to what he said. And I'm like, did he say I'm doing fentanyl and I ain't going back or something like that? And I was like, oh my God.
Or Tank, my heart's racing, must be the Molly. Or Drake, I just took a Xan. Like it is glorified, and Black people do that. And y'all know I could go on and on and on, but I get a little triggered when I start. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stop and say that we do that.
We do. We do all the drugs. Well, our people do all the drugs. We don't do all the drugs here in the cookout. Our people do all the drugs.
Let me tell y'all what just happened the other day in Florida. Okay. And you guys can look this up. But there was a man who killed his wife and then threw his baby to the crocodile. And then you saw that?
I saw that.
But we don't do mass murders. We absolutely do. Black people absolutely do. Now, it's not at the rate of white people. And I have to say that a lot because I was told that my culture was aggressive. And I like to point out that had my culture was taken aggressively. So there is no black people are aggressive more than white people or anything like that. We do have emotions, feelings, and we do sometimes those emotions and feelings do sometimes lead to murder. But it's not because we're more aggressive than anybody. It's just because there are, as we're talking about, undiagnosed depression. And just because depression is undiagnosed doesn't mean it's not there. Undiagnosed anxiety, which anxiety and depression are like first cousins. So they're undiagnosed ADHD, which is a lot of impulsivity. So if you have the right undiagnosed ADHD, a lot of impulsivity, and a lot of undiagnosed depression, those two can be spontaneous combustion with life circumstances. So that's how Black people get to those points.
I'd like to add to the mass murderer. I was actually watching a documentary about how when it comes to mass murders, a lot of, not going to say a lot, but that is where race does take in account for understanding mass murders, because a lot of people, because there's been so many white mass murders, people believe that the murderer is automatically white, which is how Black mass murderers go under the radar. There was a mass murderer, I think like way back in like the 70s, who did like 90 mass murders, but people didn't know who it was because they assumed it was a white man. And the entire time it was a Black man. But that is I would say that's like a clear time where people get the race wrong sometimes, because Black mass murderers go under the radar because people just don't expect for them to be Black. So they can kill more. I think his name was Sam something. But yeah, he was like the most prolific like mass murderer in history because people assumed he was white.
Listen, prime example is the DC sniper. I remember when that was going on, and we was all watching the news, and it was like, when they gonna catch this white man? They put that Negro on the screen. We was like, hold up.
You said lies, you dirty lie.
He was like, this is a conspiracy. That's not him.
It was him.
Oh, Black man was shooting folks. It makes sense to us.
It's not many of them, but there's not many, but they exist.
They exist.
But when they talked about the DC sniper, they also talked about a bitter custody battle, PTSD. There was a lot of things that they did not talk about that led up to those incidents. Ego. There was a lot of ego. And then some mania. So I watched the documentary on YouTube because I was all engrossed in it. And I was like, dang, look at all these mental health symptoms that like led up to all of this. So, I'm never giving them an excuse, but I'm just saying that those ignored signs and symptoms are sometimes how we end up in those spaces.
Yep, you know what? You name all of that stuff, and it's like, well, goodness gracious, can't they just go to therapy? But Black people don't go to therapy. That's another thing we don't do. Black people don't do it.
Yes, we do.
And Black people
I go to therapy.
I'm in therapy.
I'm in therapy too.
I am not.
Because Black people don't go.
Black people don't go. Well, look, if you take us, that's 75%. This would mean 75%.
But I was in therapy. So does that count from 2019 to 2020? I wasn't there.
It does count. And I mean, you just may not be in there right now because honestly, you got a lot of things going on that a lot of people don't know about, and not necessarily depression and anxiety, but sometimes when life gets to life and you don't have time to sit down, at least in your head, you don't have time to sit down with a therapist. So because of that, I actually do telehealth because while I'm getting these kids ready, sometimes I need to be talking to my therapist. And plus, as a PsyD and somebody who's engrossed in mental health all day and listen to other people's problems, we do need somebody to vent to.
Mm-hmm. I go in person. I love telehealth to work in it, but I want to go in person. I want to get out the house. That's my me time therapy.
Yeah, and I can say that I love the fact that our community is coming around to therapy more. The spike in Black people that I'm seeing in my office now, whether it's for evaluations, whether they're pursuing therapy, I really love to see it. So I do hope that our community continues doing that. And I hope that we learn to acknowledge some of the difficulties that we're having so that we can actually address them. And therapy is only the first step to that.
Yep. So we hope to see some of y'all come into therapy. Auntie
All
Shug,
right.
take us
And
out.
y'all keep watching the Clinical Cookout because we doing it. Okay.
Auntie Shug,
Subscribe.
take us out.
So we talked about what Black people don't do. What y'all about to do?
Okay. Whole new episode. 5, 4, 3,
40
2,
minutes.
and go.
All right. Wait, it's the hot sauce, Shug. You introducing the main dish. These are
My bad. Go ahead.
what the hell?
What?
Okay. Start over.
What is happening right now?
We can't get it together. Okay, here we go.
Question
Huh.
before you start. Is it okay if we wear the same thing?
I was thinking that. I was like, we're gonna have on the same clothes. It's fine. Let me
Okay.
get my damn jacket off. Shug, me and you was on the same thing. Take this goddamn jacket off.
No, take the jacket off.
Black people don't do that. We don't wear the same shit.
No, Black people don't do that. Black people don't wear the same thing twice. Now my hair look like it ain't the same, right?
What you do? You try to fluff it out more?
It just don't feel right.
It don't. You gotta switch clothes.
Ooh, okay, I had to catch. I had to catch us. I'm gonna be like,
Like they gonna say we dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Me.